This is a dangerous
That's his
conversation.
new nickname.
Now imagine this. You've got prestige, press power, and a platform that stretches across continents. You've already shaken the monarchy's foundation and branded yourself as the modern royal disruptor. And yet, despite all that influence, Meghan Markle finds herself tripping over the very empire she's trying to build. But as Meghan's lifestyle experiment starts to wobble, something deeper and far more unsettling is quietly happening in Prince Harry's shadow. Let's roll back the clock and examine where things started to fall apart.
Describing Harry is called being high. I mean, it brings new meaning to your highness.
Meghan's latest entrepreneurial leap was billed as her splashy return to the cultural spotlight. The press teased it as a polished comeback. Her new brand, American Riviera Orchard, was teased with soft hues and heavily curated visuals. Instagram posts hinted at something elegant, something artisanal. But when the curtain lifted, the public was greeted not with innovation or elegance, but a confusing medley of homemade jam, dried floral knickknacks, and rustic decor that felt more DIY wedding than premium brand. And then came the confusion. Her team proudly claimed that everything had sold out. Within minutes of launch, they made it sound like a digital frenzy. Shell with a sold-out sticker slapped on didn't feel organic. It felt staged, a buzz-building tactic rather than a legitimate transaction. Naturally, people began wondering, was there ever any inventory to begin with? And the awkward rollout didn't end there. Meghan released a promotional video that only deepened the unease. Rather than appearing vibrant or authentic, her delivery seemed distant, her face overly poised, her energy muted. It wasn't charming, it was clinical. The whole video gave the impression that her team was scrambling to control the optics rather than letting Meghan's natural charisma shine through. But the real head-scratcher came in the form of the actual products. Take those strange jars stuffed with flower petals. What were they meant to be? Not candles, not bath salts? They had no scent, no clear purpose, and no context. Just fragile jars with decorative filler. No story, no functionality, just something pretty to photograph and post. It felt less like a product line and more like a prop for aesthetic engagement. Then there was the infamous jam, which, according to Meghan's PR spin, was her artisanal signature. But food specialists online were less than impressed. They pointed out inconsistencies in the texture, odd fruit separation, and general sloppiness in presentation. Some even speculated it hadn't been processed according to proper preservation standards. One snarky critic summed it up: if it doesn't set, call it a spread and hope the public doesn't notice. That's not rave feedback. That's a polite way of saying, nice try. But while Meghan's cottagecore brand was coming undone, Prince Harry was giving observers far more serious reasons for concern. Royal analysts and longtime watchers have noted a shift in Harry for some time now. The warmth, the spark, the very charm that once made him one of the most adored royals has seemed to dim. He's been showing up to appearances looking distracted and emotionally flat. His remarks come across mechanical. His energy feels drained. More like a man going through motions than someone with a mission. Asterisk, and this isn't speculation pulled out of thin air. It's rooted in Harry's own words. He's spoken publicly about his trauma, the grief from Diana's death, the pressures of royal duty, and his long struggle with mental health. He's admitted to self-medicating in the past, turning to alcohol and drugs to cope with the emotional weight of his upbringing. So when people say he looks off, it's not tabloid nonsense. It's concern based on a known history. And recently, the alarm bells have been louder than usual. One photo, snapped quietly during a solo visit to the UK, had royal fans buzzing for all the wrong reasons. On the surface, it was just a candid shot. But a closer look revealed a man seemingly lost in his own head, blank stare, rigid posture, a look of disconnection. It didn't scream stress, it whispered exhaustion. Deep, quiet exhaustion. The kind that doesn't show up in press statements, but can't be hidden from the camera. And through all of this, Harry's PR machine has been nearly silent in times of success. His team is quick to roll out polished updates, smiling shots with veterans, heartfelt quotes, feel-good moments. But lately, it's been canned messaging and empty visuals. But she's not exactly stepping in as the hero either. She preaches transparency one day and vanishes behind vague launches the next. Her branding is scattered. Is she a media mogul, an advocate, a duchess on a mission? At the moment, she seems caught in a swirl of conflicting identities, each one underdeveloped, none quite landing, and the branding choices haven't helped one bit. The entire rollout of American Riviera Orchard looked like it had been lifted from a forgotten Pinterest archive. Muted filters, soft fonts, overly staged photos. It lacked edge. It lacked freshness. It lacked ... Meghan. Even her most loyal fans were left puzzled. Who was this for? Who's the audience? The messaging offered no answers, just vibes, with no vision. And here's the kicker even. If you believe the product sold out, we're talking about incredibly limited numbers. Insiders whisper that the total value barely scraped the surface of a legitimate launch. That's not a business plan. That's a vanity project. And when the public's attention is already drifting, a half-hearted product drop isn't going to bring them back. Meanwhile, quietly observing from afar is King Charles. Insiders say he's deeply uneasy, not about jam jars or influencer branding, but about his youngest son's well-being. Charles has played the role of hands-off father publicly, but behind closed doors, sources say he's struggling to watch Harry falter, and how could he not? Watching your child spiral while the world watches too? That's got to cut deep. And the whispers suggest a father torn. Charles wants to help. That much is clear. But he also understands that Harry is no longer under the palace's control. For years, Charles allegedly swooped in covering mistakes, smoothing scandals, funding solutions. But every parent hits a point where they have to stop cushioning the fall. And according to palace insiders, that moment may have finally arrived. In fact, there are rumors swirling that Charles is still quietly covering some of the couple's costs. If true, that's not about generosity, it's about damage control. But it's not a forever solution. Even the monarchy has its limits. Then there's Princess Eugenie, still maintaining a rare bridge to the sexes. She's been seen attending their events, keeping ties warm, even chatting with Meghan's social circle. Some speculate she's a quiet peacemaker trying to keep one line of communication open. Or maybe she's simply choosing not to pick a side in a deeply divided family. Either way, she remains one of the only royals still in touch. So where does this leave us? We're looking at a failed launch, a damaged public image, a prince under emotional strain, and a public that's shifting from intrigued to indifferent. That's the real threat now. Not scandal, apathy, and once people stop caring, the spotlight doesn't just dim, it vanishes. If Meghan and Harry truly want to rebuild, it needs to be about more than Instagram filters and curated moments. It needs soul. It needs truth. The world's had enough of performance. It's craving realness. And unless the Sussexes can tap into something deeper, their platform will keep crumbling beneath them. Because titles and tabloid coverage won't hold the audience forever. People evolve. Viewers grow weary of repetition. And Meghan and Harry's narrative, once fresh and bold, is starting to feel over-rehearsed. But here's the part that hits hardest: the erosion of trust. When they left the firm, they promised purpose, they promised peace. Instead, we got press tours, merchandise, endless content drops. It's not the change that's frustrating the public, it's the refusal to acknowledge it. Reinvention is fine, but pretending it's not happening, that's where the disconnection festers. The bigger question is no longer about what they're doing, but how they're really doing. Are they okay? Behind the PR gloss, behind the speeches and staged photos, are Meghan and Harry truly okay as a couple, as individuals? Because more and more, it seems like they're both playing characters in a narrative that no longer fits, and the audience is picking up on that. And from a business angle, the cracks are getting deeper. Spotify walked, Netflix is allegedly questioning their deal. The memoir may have been a bestseller, but you can't live off one spark forever. You need a foundation. And this brand still feels like it's floating without one. And yet there's still a sliver of possibility. Because if there's one thing audiences love, it's a comeback. Meghan has drive, Harry has heart. Together, they've proven they can captivate. But to reclaim that power, they may need to do the unthinkable. Go silent. No press tours. No releases. Just quiet reflection. Building something of substance away from the noise. That's the path to real impact. That's how broken trust gets rebuilt. Because, as things stand, their story feels less like a revolution and more like a slow fade. Not with fireworks, not with fury, just a quiet disappearance from relevance. And for two people who once held the world's gaze, that kind of silence may be the hardest fall of all. But disappearing for a while doesn't mean giving up, it means recalibrating. It means finally stepping out of the performance and into the process. People don't want more content from the Sussexes right now, they want clarity. They want to know who Harry and Meghan are when the cameras are off, when the scripts are put away, when there's no announcement to make. That's when reputations are truly rebuilt, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows where character is forged. The irony. Their strongest moments came when they were the most raw. Harry speaking about his mother's death with visible pain. Meghan revealing her mental health struggles in that infamous interview. Those moments, stripped of glamour and polish, resonated because they felt unfiltered. But since then, their message has gotten tangled in branding deals and Netflix storyboards. Authenticity can't be scheduled, and no publicist can package healing. And now, even former supporters are beginning to feel a bit duped. The fans who once cheered their exit from royal life are asking whether this was really about freedom or just a rebranded spotlight. If every controversy becomes content and every struggle turns into a promo cycle, it stops feeling brave and starts feeling transactional. That's the danger. That's the moment when public sympathy turns into quiet skepticism. But the story isn't over, not yet. There's still room to rewrite the ending. If Meghan and Harry can step back, not just physically, but they can stop chasing relevance and start nurturing something meaningful. They might surprise everyone. People are willing to forgive, to re-engage, to believe again, but only if the next chapter is real. Not strategic, not polished, just human. That's the power of starting over, not with a bang, but with honesty.